Well everyone, to coincide with the big Apple and Google announcement today, Apple did release iOS and iPadOS 26.3 Beta 2 to all developers to try out and test out and see if there's anything new. We did find a couple new things that I wanted to share with you guys, so let's get right into it. But now before we continue, if you do enjoy videos like this one where we keep you up to date on all things Apple software, definitely consider subscribing to the channel and help us get to 1 million subscribers by the end of the year. Now let's get into exactly what the build number and the build size was. Well, alright everyone, I'm going to pull up the iPad screen right here and we're going to do this video in this format. Let me know if you guys prefer this kind of overlay format with a screen recording or if you like the actual visual representation by me recording the iPad screen, but we'll try it this way and let me know what you guys think. But let's jump into the build number here. So let's go into our settings, we'll go into the About section, go to iPadOS version. You see that we're on iPadOS 26.3 23D5103 lowercase d. So this release should be coming out maybe the later stages of January, but more than likely the first or second week of February for all iDevices, and that includes iOS, macOS, and everything in between. So do keep that in mind. We'll see a couple more betas and then an RC edition, and then finally we'll get that public release. And then in terms of build size, surprisingly, and I think this was actually stated to be a bug, but this update was 11.5 gigabytes. Whether or not it was an actual bug in terms of the size, the iPad will recognize that as the actual size of this device, so make sure that you give yourself at least 20 gigs, maybe 25 gigs of open storage in order to get this installed and installed correctly, because again, 11.5 gigs for an install is kind of insane, especially when it's a beta 2 of a 26.3 update. I don't know, it feels like a lot of empty space for no reason. So now I do quickly want to reiterate what we saw with the Beta 1 update because there was one omission that I had from the last video. But first I definitely want to touch on this because again, Apple and Google announced their partnership today. It's a long-term, multi-year partnership, Apple paying probably $1 billion a year. But funny enough, Google actually pays Apple like $20 billion a year to be the default search engine and things like that. But billion-dollar companies, we can't relate at this point. But if you go into your general and then go down to transfer or reset iPad, and this will be for iOS as well, you can now transfer it to Android. So if you tap on there, you get the instructions of what this looks like. It'll say place your device next to each other, place your Android device next to this iPad to get connected and begin the transfer process. Once you're connected, you can choose what you want to transfer, such as your photos, messages, apps. You can also transfer your phone number if you want to, of course, that being on the iOS and Android side. And then you have all your health data. Devices paired with Bluetooth and protected items are not available for transfer. So all your Apple Watch data, if you are connected, will not transfer over. And then just make sure that everything is running in the latest software. You're connected to Wi-Fi and you have Bluetooth turned on. You can continue from there or press learn more. And that is how you prepare your iPad if you want to transfer it over to an Android tablet, which I tested out the OnePlus Pad a couple months ago, if you guys have saw that video review, and it's a great tablet, but again, I would never leave the iPad at this point. And then another thing that came up, which we didn't talk about, was going to be in the lock screen. So if you scroll down here and we go to edit this, if you swipe over to the right, press on the little plus sign, Apple actually divided up the way that you see the wallpapers this time around. So you now have a dedicated weather section, and then you have a dedicated astronomy section as well. Whereas before they were meshed into one category, now they're a little easier to find. And I think this makes it a little bit more satisfying at the end of the day. But that's going to be the new separation for those two wallpaper kind of category types. And then another thing that we saw is going to be in the control center. This is going to be the new update to Beta 2. If you go into the control center, if you long press on here to edit the control center, I already have it, but you can see that you have this text size resizer. If you add control, it's basically right here. It's so you can quickly adjust the size of the text from a system level by default on your iPad. Now, if you get out of here, once you add it, you can actually mess around with it. But if you long press on it, it gives you two different options. You have your all apps option, which again, does exactly what it sounds like. It's going to change the size or the default size of the text on all the applications. So you can go really, really small, or you can go all the way to 135%. And then what's nice is that it tells you which one the default is. The 100%, you get the little default option. See if you move away from there, that's no longer the default. Apple can do a little bit better with the kind of spacing here, which again, should be fixed at some point, but that's something to take note of. Now, in the home screen only section, you can go real big. Now, this is going to be new for 26.3 Beta 2. You can go all the way up to 310% in terms of text size for the home screen only. So if you tap out of here, and you go back into your control center, you can see how big all this stuff is. I mean, it's absolutely hilarious how big it is. And it just shows as big as possible when you are looking at it. I'm gonna go back in here and change it because, again, I can see, no need to do all that. And again, if you're looking for the default size, just go back to the 100%, and that's gonna be normally your default size. Now that is everything we knew that we found with 26.3 beta 2. Again, not a lot of new stuff happening, but let's go and look at the battery life and how we've done with that over the last couple weeks, because we did have the beta 1 version for a long time. That one came out before the holidays, so before Christmas time, and we held on to that one for a while there. So if we go into our settings, go into our battery, go into view all battery usage, and this is a great way, even if you aren't using your iPad a lot or if you're going on iOS, this is the best way to understand what is using up the most amount of battery, which applications you should be using more or less, and things like that. But you can see that on a day like Tuesday, we used 6 hours and 30 minutes of screen on time with about 94% of my battery being used, meaning, again, 6.5 to 7 hours would have been the cap on that day. YouTube TV, LumaFusion, Photos, YouTube, and NBA were the biggest culprits, with the top 3 being right there. So you can see the YouTube TV used up 24% of my battery. YouTube TV was on the screen for 3 hours and 6 minutes longer than usual on Thursday. The reason was because my Miami Hurricanes, they beat Ole Miss, and now they're going on to the college football final. So if you know, you know. It's all about the you, everybody. And as you can see, we watched about 3.5 hours of YouTube TV on the iPad. And then on a day like Tuesday, over here, 80% battery, we got about 4 hours of screen on time. So you can probably, infer that you'll get 5.5 to 6 hours on that day. But on a day where I'm not using the iPad too much, I'm not using LumaFusion, I definitely could have milked the iPad for much more when it comes to battery life. But battery life has been great, and then performance has been second to none. I've been very happy with 26.3 beta 1. It's been too soon with beta 2 to actually let you know what the performance is like, but it's still snappy, still moving around. I'm able to kind of do whatever I see fit, play games, watch movies, edit my videos, export things in real time. So overall, very happy with the state of the iPad as it lays in 2026. And that's everything new with iPadOS 26.3 beta 2. Let's finish up the video. So as you guys saw, and as I mentioned in my 26.3 beta 1 update video, normally in these odd number updates, that means this is going to be all about performance versus actually new features to test out, and the same can be said about the beta 2 update. Nothing really changed. We got one small little change in the control center, but again, we saw that with the beta 1, it foreshadowed this announcement. That was the Google and Apple partnership, because Apple did allow us to now transfer between or reset from backup between Apple and Android, which is something that we got with the beta 1 update. But overall, everything is very stable. Things are getting a lot smoother. I'm enjoying and loving iPadOS 26.3 overall. It does everything that I would want it to and then some. And my iPad Pro, for me and for a lot more people this time around, is an actual computer. But that'll do for this update and this video. If you made it to the end, leave a little dolphin so I know that you made it to the end of this video. And leave a comment down below also about this Google and Apple partnership. What do you think about it? I'm very curious to understand people's thoughts and opinions on it, because it's something that we haven't really seen before, and Apple's never really let anybody into their walled garden per se. But as I said, that'll do for this video. If you want to watch more videos like this, like the Apple and Google partnership video, click on this video right here. Or if you want to find out how to use your iPhone a little bit more efficiently, click on this video right here. Peace, everybody.